Hey, Facebook. All right, I'm trying something new on the laptop tonight. It says I'm live, and I wanted to get some information out to you. So, months ago, I'm talking months ago, I started this whole project of kind of researching different democratic organizations, like progressive organizations, really. And I stumbled across one called Power the Polls. And so I know all eyes right now are really turning to Georgia, Pennsylvania, and a couple other states that are getting results in tonight. And so Georgia is within, I'm talking like winning Georgia by 1,000 votes. That's how close it is here for Donald Trump. And it just reminded me of this article I came across from the Secretary of State, again, like months ago. And so there's an organization called Power the Polls, and I'm going to show it to you. And so I'm going to switch actually over here. So if I don't look at the camera the whole time, I just want you to know that's why. So let me see. Like I said, getting new to this. Let's try that one. There we go. Okay, cool. Let's go over to Safari. All right. Now, so here's the deal. A day after the National Recruitment Day for poll workers, this press release was put out by the Secretary of State. It says it recruits 10,000 to work the polls in November. So we'll just read it here. Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, along with numerous partners, has recruited over 10,000 Georgians to help staff the polls in November. Georgia crossed a significant milestone the day after recognizing the National Poll Worker Recruitment Day, which I believe it's like September, I'll find it for you, but I think it's like September 1st or September 30th, but it's like the day after we're talking, they put 10,000 people in. I mean, sometimes it takes weeks for people to get poll workers together. And so it's this National Poll Worker Day when the secretary joined Power the Polls as they helped to recruit 250,000 poll workers nationwide. Together with the Metro Atlanta Chamber of Commerce and numerous other partners around the state, we've been able to recruit more than 10,000 Georgians to serve as poll workers in November, said Raffensperger. After we saw how the pandemic-related shortages of poll workers contributed to the long lines in June, we set out to mobilize an all-hands-on-deck effort to make sure county elections officials had the staff they needed in November. Thanks to the great work of our partners and the dedicated Georgia voters, elections in Georgia will move more smoothly and efficiently in the future. Well, let's see about that. We're a couple days in here. Georgia poll workers were on average above 65 years old when the COVID-19 pandemic swept through the United States. This particularly vulnerable population understandably opted to stay home and avoid the risk of exposure to the virus. As a result, polling locations across the state were short-staffed on Election Day and limited in their ability to train new poll workers due to the constraints of the pandemic. To fill this gap, Secretary Raffensperger is partnering with numerous organizations in the state to help recruit younger, less at-risk populations to staff the polls on Election Day. By working with a wide array of private and nonprofit organizations, Raffensperger is hoping to reach new areas of Georgia to pull people out off the sidelines. On June 9th, Georgia saw record turnout for a statewide general primary election. Notwithstanding a state record for absentee ballots cast by mail, Georgia saw over 800,000 people vote on Election Day itself. More than 30,000 voted early in person during Georgia's 3 weeks of early voting. In-person voting remains important as ever. Looking forward to November, turnout is expected to be as much as 3 times as high. This means county officials need to be a stable of young poll workers to step up and help their communities on Election Day. So I have real questions about this organization called Power the Polls. And so if you go to their website, again, this is on the Secretary of State website. I mean, you can go to it and read it. But I mean, 10,000 in a day is super alarming. So this looks like one of your standard well-funded George Soros website, Power the Polls. And then if you go into Google and you just type in the powerthepolls.org, you can see all the different places that it's been shared. And this is not on conservative sites. This is on, like I'm trying to tell you about, there's a whole network of progressive organizations that are all really, really well-funded. And so if you scroll to the bottom, it shows you it's powered by Work Elections. So let's click on that. Let's go take a look at Work Elections. So we come over here, be a part of democracy, look up information on how to work at the polls on Election Day. This is a project of Fair Election Center. Okay, so let's click on Fair Election Center. We'll take a look at this one. Fair Elections is a national nonpartisan voting rights and elections reform 501c3. I don't know how these are 501c3 organizations based in Washington, D.C. Our mission is to use litigation and advocacy to remove barriers to registration and voting, particularly those disenfranchised, unrepresented, and marginalized communities, and to improve election administration. Fair Elections, oh, they're in the New York Times. Oh, so unbiased, right? So I just keep reading, it's like these really aren't necessarily fair elections. Like every left organization, they're like, here we go. Fair Election Center won a historic decision on felon voting rights in Florida. That's who Fair Elections is. So these really aren't nonpartisan. So I'm just trying to show you a string of breadcrumbs that I remember seeing, like I said, months ago. You can all go to all of these sites that I just showed you and just start off at powerthepolls.org and click through, and you can see that these are not nonpartisan websites. And so you're telling me in Georgia, they put 10,000 people into the polls the day after the National Recruitment Day. How many of the 10,000 poll workers came from Power the Polls? What is it like? I mean, I was talking to somebody up in Michigan, and they said they were outnumbered 10-1. So when we're saying we're finding all these ballots, I really have questions on the integrity of even the poll workers that are recruited. Were they nonpartisan, especially in Georgia? Are they nonpartisan? I heard that up in Michigan. I mean, they had Black Lives Matter shirts on. You're not supposed to wear anything that's partisan, and that's become a very partisan organization. The phrase, of course, everybody supports Black lives, but when we talk about the organization itself, its ties to Marxism, there's some big questions there. And you got people working in the polls like that. So as we're watching Georgia, I just was like, I got to get this information out there. I can't sit here and say, oh, I never saw this. And it's right there on the Secretary of State's website. In fact, I just took a screenshot of it because I don't know if it's going to be there tomorrow, but that really raises questions for me of are these poll workers legitimate, nonpartisan poll workers? And now we're saying Georgia's going to be decided by 1,000 votes. So these are the types of things when, I see a lot of people scoffing at the fact that they think that there's election integrity going on. I mean, I can't imagine if this was the other way around and Republicans just stopped counting ballots in different states. I mean, why the heck hasn't Alaska even been called yet? I mean, last time I checked, an hour and a couple hours ago, we still didn't know what was going on in Alaska. Really? We can't call Alaska of all these places? So anyways, it's really intense out there, but I just wanted to at least put this information out there so that when Georgia comes in and it's only by 1,000 votes and we have a recount, somebody out there gets this information and can do something about it. Because I'm really questioning how many people were put into Georgia polls by Power the Polls, because clearly that is not a nonpartisan organization that has really deep ties to people with a certain agenda. So anyways, that's it. I'm going to make it short and sweet and throw it out there, and y'all can share it. You can not share it, but I wanted to get it out there. All right, bye.